All right, folks, welcome on in here um, to our user group webinar covering the lists and labels reporting section in the donations module. My name is Jim. I'm coming to you live on a sunny and warm day here in Columbus, Ohio. We're going to be spending the next 20 minutes or so talking about a couple of the reports here in the donations module underneath the subheading of lists and labels. Before we get started, a quick word about your GoToWebinar control panel that you should have on your screen right now. There's going to be a little red arrow button, usually in the upper left-hand corner of that screen, that will allow you to either minimize or maximize that window. Minimizing that window gives you a little bit more room on your screen so you can see what we're talking about here in our presentation today. Maximizing it gives you access to the different features in that control panel, including that questions section. So you can type in any questions that you have there as we go through here, keeping in mind that I'm not going to be able to get to those questions until after the presentation is over. And then after the 20 minutes of the presentation, approximately, then I'll be able to address any questions that you have. If you could please keep them to the topic at hand, the list labels reports in donations, that would be appreciated as well. Also, if you have any of our regional training manual books that you can order from us, I'm going to be going from those books, the D106 book, Donations 106, pages 26 through 40. If you have those regional books, that's kind of the topic of the day here. So I suppose without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Let's go ahead and launch our donations module by clicking on donations on our opening portal map there. Here is our opening image map for donations. The reports that we're going to be discussing today here are under the Reports/Export tab and under the Lists and Labels drop-down menu there. Okay, so we're going to be covering the List Account Balances report, the List Envelope Numbers report, as well as labels. We're just going to start at the top and work our way on down there. So let's take a look at List Account Balances. Clicking on that brings you to the Options tab of the List Account Balances screen here. The List Account Balances report, buckle your seatbelts, folks, it gives you a listing of all of your account balances. So that's what we're going to accomplish here. There's a series of tabs here along the top of the screen that will address what each of them is all about here. Under the Options tab, this is where you set the year. In donations, all of your data is available to you all the time. So if you click on the down arrow here, any year that you have information in this program will be available here. Let's go ahead and take a look at our 2017 information. You can set a date range on this report if you want to list a period balance, like a balance between January and like a first quarter. You could do a January through March of 2017, for example. You have the ability to include inactive accounts or not. I'm going to go ahead and not include inactive accounts for my report. And you can also include accounts with zero balances. I'm going to go ahead and include those on ours. As we go along the top here and look at our other tabs, let's go take a look at our Columns tab. This is where you get a lot of the flexibility out of these reports here in Church Windows. The List Account Balances information that you've got. Over on the right side of the screen is where you see which accounts are being included on your report. So the default version of this is going to include the account as well as the year-to-date balance. So that's the default of these. Now, all of the stuff over here on the right side you can include as well. Account, which is included by default, is the account ID, which is normally a number, as well as the name of that account. It's in one field with the ID code as well as the name of that field. You have an account ID as well as an account name. You can include them separately as separate columns on your report if you choose to, or if you only, for example, want to see your account name and you don't care about seeing your account ID, you can dump the account and just include account name. Moving accounts onto and off of your report is a matter of using these little arrow buttons in between. So for example, if I did want to include my period activity column, in addition to my year-to-date balance, I would simply select period activity, click on my little arrow button pointing to the right, and it will kind of shuffle that into our report listed here under visible columns. If you want to change the order that your columns appear in, you can use these arrow buttons over here to the right side. Let's say I want to make my period activity be the last column on my report. I just click on my down arrow and it'll move it down there. You can change the sort order by going to your Sort tab. Sort field 1, as we see here, that's how it's going to change the order here. Any of the fields that you can include, you can sort by that. It defaults to account, which again, it's that ID first, and then the name is how it's going to sort from there. We'll see in a moment, really it's sorting by subtotals that you create in your donations module as well. And we'll take a look at those subtotals in a moment when we're looking at our report. Detail tab. These are the subtotals that you have set up, that in this case we have in our training data set up here in our Church Windows program here. So the way this works is, if you've got a check mark next to one of these subtotals, it's going to show you all of the individual accounts inside of that subtotal. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck my total in-out giving. These are pass-through accounts for money that we take in on behalf of other organizations. So I'm going to uncheck just that total in-out giving so that we can get a sense for how this works when we're looking at our report. We also have a fonts tab where you can change the fonts of your reports as well. As we see here, we're running with Times New Roman 9.75 point font here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click print so we can take a look at this version of our list account balances report. Go ahead and get it out to our page width so it's a little bit easier to read here. So I see here actually the data I have doesn't have any information in the 2007 year. Let me go ahead and roll that back to 2017. Let's roll that back to 2016, where hopefully we've got some totals in here. Sorry about that. There we go. Yeah, we've got some totals on here. So you see here, it's going to sort these all by those subtotals that we had looked at. So here's all of our total building fund giving listed through here. Our total annual giving subtotal here. So we've got our general fund. There's the total in that general fund. It totals it up at the bottom here when you look at these. And if I scroll down, I just want to show you that total in-out giving that I had set up doesn't show the individual giving accounts in there. It just gives me my totals that would be listed in here. Okay. So real basic report, not a lot to it, just shows you your balances on each of your giving accounts here in the system. Okay. Next one we want to take a look at is our list envelope numbers report. Usually this is going to be listed as shown as list giving numbers. We've changed the name of that field to envelope numbers here in our system. But oftentimes that's going to be listed as displayed, pardon me, as list giving numbers. So here's this report. Keeping in mind that giving numbers or envelope numbers are not required in the donations module in order to record giving for anybody. If you do use envelope numbers or you wish to record giving numbers, that's just fine, but they're not in any way required here in the donations module. The other thing to keep in mind that numbers can be changed midway through the year. So like because you assign somebody a particular giving number at the beginning of 2017 does not necessarily mean that that is their number throughout the entirety of the year, which is why at the top of this we've got to use numbers current as of box here. So it defaults to today's date, which is the February 17th. But if you wanted to set this to the beginning of this year, January 1st, 2017, it's easy to do. You can simply change it on that box there. There's a couple of different versions of this. Notice it defaults to unassigned numbers in a particular range. So if you're adding a new member to your into your database here and you're not sure what giver numbers are available, you can come down here to the unassigned numbers in range, simply click on print here, and it'll show you all of your available numbers. So that is the default, is this unassigned numbers in a range. But if you did want to list your currently assigned numbers, you would select assigned numbers up here at the top. You can choose to include whatever their next envelope number is going to be. So for example, if you've already set up, this would be more appropriate if this were the end of 2016. If you had already set up the beginning of next year's giver numbers, you could include the next year envelope number on that report as well with that checkbox. You can also, if you choose to, include address and phone number on this report. It's not the default, so I'm going to go ahead and leave those unchecked on here. You have the ability to change the number of columns on your report. I'm going to make this a 2-column report. It defaults to just 1 column. I find that with the 2 columns, it makes it a little more concise. It saves you a lot of pages when you're printing these out. You can set your giver number range in the upper right-hand corner on this Options tab. In this section here where it says envelope number. So let's say, for example, you set it up so that your range of members, you assign them envelope numbers 1 through 200, and then non-members are 201 on up. And you only want to look at the, a particular range. You can do that on here if you chose to. I could set that 1 to 200. That's just an example of sometimes folks have different ranges that they set up in the system. Okay, so there is a unique tab on here, which is a Givers tab. This allows you to filter the folks who print on this report by any field that you track over in the membership module. So we're in the upper left-hand corner where it says select a membership field. I can click on my down arrow and you're going to see all of this stuff from the membership database. There's not going to be a lot of valid examples on here, but a common one would be if I wanted to only print list all of my envelope numbers for my active members, for example. So in that case, I could use my status field. I can only check active members, click my plus selection here, and now it's only going to list my giver numbers for the folks who are set up as active members at this time. Okay, but you could filter it by any number of fields in the membership module if you chose to. I'm going to go ahead and remove that line because I want to see everybody. Again, there's going to be a columns tab here along the top, which will show their name, their current number, the next number, and the next number's start date. Not a lot to this. It's just a simple informational report, list of names and their numbers. Along the top, we also have a sort tab. By default, it's going to sort it by name. So this is going to be an alphabetical list of everybody's names with their giver number, which I'm going to leave it at this, but a common one to do is to change it to current for their current number. I'm going to leave it default to giver name, and I'll show it to you both ways as well there. We've got a fonts tab, much like the other report, where we can adjust our fonts if we choose to. And we have an additional options tab. This include V indicator and include D indicator puts a little symbol next to somebody's name if they are from either the V is for the visitor file over in membership, and the D is for being a donations giver, somebody that was entered directly into the donations module and doesn't exist in membership at all. Let's go ahead and take a look at what those look like. Remember that these are by default unchecked on here. I'm going to go ahead and click on print so we can take a look at what this report looks like. Here's the one. I set it to 2 columns. So here's all of those folks. You'll see, well, let me set this up so we can see it a little better. So again, you'll see those names, their number, if they had a next year number, which this being the beginning of 2017, I haven't started working on my next year envelope numbers yet. So that column's going to be blank on here. So here we are looking at everybody alphabetically here in the system. A common way to sort this is by going back to our sort tab and sorting it by current number. And when we do that one, it's going to go in giver number or envelope number order from there. Okay. One last thing I want to show here on the list envelope numbers report. Back here under the options tab, we have an export to text file option here. This can be used to export this data out of church windows into some kind of text or comma separated values file. This is used commonly if you want to send this information out to another company to pre-print envelopes for you. If you have envelopes that you use for folks for their donations and you want them displayed at the church there, and you have a company that you want to do that for you, you would use this export to text file option here. It's going to ask you whether you want to delimit it as a comma delimited file, which creates it as a CSV or comma separated values file. Or if you set it up as a tab, it's going to create it as a TXT or a text file. You can browse using this little button here with the 3 dots and save this wherever you wish to. I'm going to go ahead and save it on my desktop. And when you click OK, it's going to create that file for you. When I minimize my screen here, there's that report I just created on my desktop. There's my ugly, unformatted, tab delimited text file. This would be completely usable by another company that would create these envelope numbers for you. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at labels. The last report here on our lists and labels drop-down menu is labels. Commonly, in the donations module now, the labels are used to print your own giver number labels that you can just peel off of a sheet of labels, stick onto some envelopes, and then display them at the front. Usually any other type of mailing labels and things along those lines, that more commonly that type of thing would be set up over in the membership module. So what I'm going to do here today is take us through the steps to create some labels with a family's giver number included on it. So here, when we come to this report at first, it takes us to a step 1 page. And again, this, where it says select a membership field, is where we can filter this by any number of fields over in the membership module. So again, this could be a particular status code or a membership date, anything you want. It's there if you need it. It's not going to be commonly used for this. In the upper right-hand corner where it says envelope number, you can include those with number or include those without number. So I'm going to uncheck where it says include those without a number because I only want folks with a number to print out on my labels here anyhow. Over on the right side underneath where it says include, You can include inactive or terminated folks with this checkbox. It's not going to be appropriate for this report, so I'm going to leave it unchecked. Include folks from the member file over in membership. Include folks from the visitor file over in membership. I'm going to also include donations individuals and donations groups. These are folks that are entered directly into the donations module and don't exist over in membership. But if we have some of those folks with giver numbers, I'm going to want them included on my label, so I'm going to check both of those boxes. There's also a tab along the top here for giving and pledging, which allows you to filter in a number of ways. So if you only want, for example, folks who have pledged, if you're a pledging church and you've got an active campaign or campaigns with your church, and you only want to print these labels for folks who are pledging, underneath in the middle here where it says pledging include, I can select only those who pledged. And there are further things that you can filter by pledge type or whether they've met their pledges or haven't met their pledges, etc. That might be one that would commonly be used. I only want to print my labels for folks who have pledged. I'm going to go ahead and select all because I want to see as many of these labels as we can. A number of other options over here. Note use numbers current as of is over here on the right side, right here. So again, if I wanted to set that to January 1st here in 2017, I can do that right there. Okay. An accounts tab. This is also this tab, this accounts tab, kind of works along with giving and pledging. So for example, if you say only those who gave or only those who pledged, then you can filter it by only those who gave to a building fund or your general operating fund or whatever on here. But if you, on the giving pledging tab, select all and all, this doesn't really do anything for you because there's no other search criteria that would apply to these. And then there's a sort tab here. It's going to sort by envelope number by default, but you can change it to any field you choose to over in membership. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here with envelope number. When I click next, it takes us to the step 2 page, and it gives us a list of all of our names down below. Up here at the top where it says one label per, you need to select one of these options. If you're printing giver number labels here, I'm going to go ahead and select giving unit, so one envelope per giving unit. When you first set this up in Church Windows, at the top here where it says label layout, up here, that's going to be blank. And you have to create your own label format. So I want to show you how to do that by clicking on the New Label button over here to the right. When you click on New Label, it takes you to this window where it asks you what type of labels are you printing to. Avery Standard and 5160 is a very common label format, so we're going to be using that one, but there are many, many more, many different companies, and many different formats for each of those companies. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it on 5160 address and click Next. This is where it shows you the measurements for those labels. That's the default measurements for that type of label, so I'm going to leave it that way and click my Finish button. Next, it's going to take us to our Report Designer window, where you see over on the left side what's printing on your envelope right now, or each label. It's the mailing label and address. But we're not including giver number or envelope number here by default. Notice over here on the right side, we can include envelope number. So I'm going to go ahead and include that on my label here, but I need to make a little bit of room for myself. So I can either left click on this and move it down, which I'm going to do right here. I can also, if you see those little boxes around the outside of that field, you can also make it a little smaller and give yourself a little bit more room. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make it I'll resize it when I bring my envelope number field over. So I left click on envelope number and I drag it over here onto my label. Now I'm going to make my mailing label field a little bit bigger so I've got some room for it. So that's going to be my labels. I'm going to click Save As in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to call it 5160 envelope labels and click OK. When I exit out of here, you'll see next to label layout, there's my 5160 envelope labels, and all I need to do is click print. There we go. There's all those folks with their envelope number right there. We're ready to print those out and stick them on our envelopes for all of our members. All right, folks, that's all I've got for you today. I actually went a little long. My apologies on that. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're all set to go, feel free to go ahead and click on the X in the upper right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar control panel. And if you're out of here, thanks so much for joining me. Hope you have a good afternoon. I'm going to leave the room open for just a little bit longer to take any questions that you might have. So thanks for joining me, everybody.